probably going to take a month after the inauguration, because I think there's probably going to be a month of just unknown, and typically being unknown is not good for rates, right? The risk unknown equals risk equals higher rates. But what's going to eventually happen is Fannie and Freddie and all these people issuing conventional loans, they're going to start reducing the spread. The spread is still historically high. It's 265 basis points. It got as high as 311. Historically, it's 180. So there's 75, 80 basis points in spread reduction out there. My guess, my prediction is we could see half of that disappear by the end of the year. All righty, folks, we have got to talk mortgages. We've got to talk rates. If you haven't been paying attention to the news cycle, a couple of things happened. First, yesterday, CPI came in, I don't know, arguably slightly better than expected. Rates went down an eighth, or about 12 or 13 basis points. Today, we got Fed President Waller telling us that 3 or 4 rate cuts are coming. What the hell is he smoking? But hey, that's what he said. We're going to talk about that. And of course, we have the one and only Dustin. Let's catch up with him. If you watched last week's video, you know what we're talking about. Let's just check in on him. How you doing, Dustin?
Good. And, thank you for asking, Mike. It's definitely better a week or 9 days later than what it was last week. And, it's a hole that will forever be in my heart and soul, but is going to get smaller. We'll slowly fill the hole up. But it's been very heartwarming, and I'm very appreciative of all the messages that I've gotten from the ORaaT family. And it's not just from, comments on the video, but personal text messages and emails and phone calls of, just being there for me. And I really appreciate it. A lot of the community has offered, some of their properties for me and my family to stay at, and just the level of love that I've received during times where I truly was needing it, is something I can't put into words for how grateful I am. So I do want to thank everybody that, whether you reached out or not, the support that I've gotten. So thank you.
Yeah, the ORaaT community, as somebody, I've been the leader of it, obviously, for 7 years now. You always hope that you're marshaling quality people around you, because that's what makes it fun. And when you have somebody in the family like yourself, right? You come back every week, and then to watch the community rally around you, that makes me smile. It means we are doing good things. We're on the right track. And shout out to all the listeners who watched the video, who reached out, who commented. We are good people. And, that makes me feel really, really good. But let's switch gears. It's hard to, but we have to, right? Business is still out there. I don't know if you saw it yesterday. I know you've got a lot going on, but rates cratered yesterday because CPI headline went up 0.2, but CPI core went down 0.1. CPI core is between 3.1 and 3.3 for 7 months. I don't understand yesterday's market reaction. I broke it down in a lot of detail this morning on the Daily Financial News. I think it was overreaction. So let's talk about yesterday first, and then we'll talk about Waller, what he had to say today, which is crazy. But talk about yesterday.
Yeah, no, I saw it, of course, and I'll delve into a little bit later a conversation I had with one of our funds that we sell a lot of our loans to. But ultimately, this goes back every single time there's a economic report or a Fed meeting coming, where if the market believes, for example, I believe that it was pretty obvious, the market expected inflation to come in higher, right? More so than it, just like you said, 0.1 lower on core. Normally that doesn't move the needle. If the market's believing that it's going to come in right at, what they predicted, 0.1 is not going to really do much. But because the expectations were that it was going to come in higher than expected, but it came in 0.1 lower, right? It gave a little bit of I would call it a relief rally, but this isn't a trend reversal. I want to make sure everybody knows this isn't like, okay, here come rates back down again, right? This is more so what, if you were lucky enough to just start a loan application and you're thinking about locking right away, do it now. Do it now, because I read I read a good analogy that stuck with me on my little morning rate talk news where like we've seen it enough. You put your hand inside of a crocodile's mouth and he doesn't bite it. You got lucky. Don't do it again, right?
Yeah,
Don't do it again.
exactly.
But that's the message on the locking right now, and I'm still telling everybody you got lucky. Lock it
Yeah.
now. You'll get a little 0.25 help, but
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, it's
it's good
certainly
to see.
helpful. Like, yeah, if you get it, it's helpful.
Yeah,
It might make sense for some, but so that was yesterday. Rates this morning, as you would, at least as I would have expected. Yesterday was kind of such a violent move. You almost expect some give back. I think that's very logical. Certainly what I
yep.
expected. And the morning started that way until Fed President Waller on CNBC basically declaring victory on inflation and saying, and I quote, we could have interest rate cuts in the next couple of months. In fact, we could have 3 or 4 rate cuts this year. So you got to put good old Fed President Waller in the Dove camp. And I might say the Dove camp smoking hopium, because I don't see, with all the stuff coming, I still think inflation to the upside is certainly more of a concern than inflation suddenly collapsing to 2%. But what do I know? That's crazy. But again, I would expect rates to get better based on a Fed president saying, "Hey guys, yeah, we may not cut in January, but you know what? March is possible." Wild to think about.
No, and I mean, like you said, I agree with you. I think it's wild. There's a bunch of hopium going on in that. I'm not a gambling man, but if you told me that I got the option to pick 3 or 4 rate cuts or less than 3 or 4, I'm taking less than 3 or 4 all
Oh
damn
yeah,
day,
all
all
day,
damn
every
day,
day.
right? And inflation, like
Well,
you
I
you
got
touched
a
on,
question. Sorry to cut you off, but this is,
yeah.
I got to ask. If you were asked, take 4 rate cuts or 0 rate cuts in 2025, which one are you taking?
I'm still going 0 all day.
Yeah, it's
Um,
just not even
like,
close.
yeah, it's not even like, because zero's in my mind right now is a very realistic,
Yeah.
possibility. 4 in my mind after the last 6, like I can't even
I can't even
fathom that.
fathom 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like don't even. Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty wild to think about, but yeah, it's the Fed is definitely breaking down. You're seeing who's a hawk, who's a dove. Generally, that always happens at kind of pivot points. It's
yeah.
funny, if you were to ask me, I think the chances of a rate increase are more likely than 4 rate cuts. But again, you know, I'm wrong all the time. But I just I just don't see it. And believe me, folks, I understand the base effect. I understand imputed cost. I understand. But you also got to realize what's on the cusp with policy, right? We've got some tax cuts coming. I forget who said it today. It was the incoming Treasury Secretary, I think, said if we don't extend Trump's tax cuts, the economy is going to hit a wall. So tax
Yep.
cuts are coming. We've got deregulation coming. We've got some tariffs coming. We've got some deportation coming. All of these things are net positive long term, in my opinion. But in the short term, they're inflationary. I mean, I don't understand.
It's pretty simple to understand. Pretty plain.
Oh, good. I'm
And
glad.
then like the obvious is, I mean, I think uh Trump's officially in office on Monday or something,
Monday.
right? Next
Monday. Yep.
Monday, right?
Monday. The 20th.
No secret that his proposed and hopeful plans and policies are going to be more inflationary. So,
Yeah, at least in the short. I mean,
there,
long term,
yeah,
they could put the U.S. economy on a better track for decades to come. But
yeah,
there's just some short term pain.
yeah.
I just
There's no other way to put it. Short-term
Yeah,
pain.
short-term pain. So it's interesting. Love to catch up on what you're hearing from the funds. You and your partner Jonathan. Congratulations, Jonathan. He got married last weekend. He's out enjoying a mini honeymoon. So shout out Jonathan and his wife. Her name is
Kimberly.
Kimberly. Kimberly, congratulations, Jonathan and Kimberly. Folks, put some congratulations in the comment. You know what? Let's give Jonathan some marriage advice. Put in the comments your number one marriage advice for newlyweds. Go ahead. This ought to be comical. What are the comments for newlyweds? Come on, married folks. Come on, divorced folks. Tell us what you got. Give us some recommendations. That should be fun. That should light up the comments. I digress. Where I was going with this is you brought to us about 6 weeks ago the fact that the largest Wall Street fund buying DSCR loans had first stopped and second not coming back. You're giving us insight into what the big money players are doing. So I know you just had talk with a big money player. What do they see coming? What are they doing to facilitate business?
Well, to go back just one step, the fund that we spoke about 6 weeks ago that was pausing funding and was possibly going to start up again in January. Guess what? It's January, what is it, 16th or something,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep. They're not
Not a
here.
lot. No, no. And we spoke with, them, I think on the 5th, and, no start date in sight. So that's been a interesting shockwave amongst the competitors. And what we saw, and this was actually yesterday, I had a conversation with one of our other, big fund buyers of our loan products, and they wanted to give essentially, right, a smaller spread between the 5 year and the rate that we're going to be offering to clients.
Hmm.
Okay, and it was a 20 basis point, reduction, which is massive. You normally don't get some sort of like spread reduction, right,
Mm.
of more than 2 or 3 bips here or there with new product, etc. But 20 bips, what it told us and what it tells me and probably should tell the audience is it's no secret rates are up basically a full percent since,
Oh yeah.
early October, late September. And going into this year, funds got to be fed, right? They got to deploy those assets. And ultimately, we're going to see my prediction over the next 6 months is I'm going to have multiple calls with different funds that are going to try and do this to get full off of 1 month of loan submissions, loan purchases, hit their quota, remove the spread, and then we got to find another one. That's going to happen all year long, and it's at least good in my mind to see that they're understanding, and they're also, I wouldn't say desperate, but needing to deploy these funds, and they ain't going to deploy these funds if they keep their spreads the same where they're at.
I love it. These insights are so valuable, keeping us up to date what's going on in the big money markets. If I were going to translate that to conventional market, I think the same is true. What we're seeing today with rates over 7% is demand is falling off a cliff, inventory is building, yada, yada. You know the
Yep.
story. But what's going to happen, in my opinion, is, it's probably going to take a month after the inauguration, because I think there's probably going to be a month of just unknown, and typically being unknown is not good for rates, right? The risk unknown equals risk equals higher rates. But what's going to eventually happen is Fannie and Freddie and all these people issuing conventional loans, they're going to start reducing the spread. The spread is still historically high. It's 265 basis points. It got as high as 311. Historically, it's 180. So there's 75, 80 basis points in spread reduction out there. My guess, my prediction is we could see half of that disappear by the end of the year for the same reason. They're starving, they're hungry. They need to initiate loans. So, yeah, we could see the spread come in across the board, I think. What do you think?
You nailed it right on the head. I think we probably spoke about this 2-3 months ago that this was going to happen. And ultimately, we always say this as well on our weekly meetups. Wall Street's a little bit farther, sometimes a little bit
Yep.
better at predicting the future. And you see them do something, normally conforming conventional Fannie Freddie is going to fall along the same path.
Yep. No, I think it's true. I think it's true. So I'm curious what's going on in the LA real estate market. I've seen some crazy rent increases. I think we talked about one going from 17 to 30,000. If you have a move-in ready house in a nice area in a nice school district, you can almost demand any price today, is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, no, it is, and that's a tough point on me because for the last week I've got a great network of realtors just in LA, and all the good ones, the ones that I stay in touch with and admire their work for. First off, it's illegal to price gouge, right? In California and in LA, it's straight up legal. So there's a lot of boards and groups, and I like to see that a lot of my realtor partners, as well as myself, we've got a list of all these rentals because it's, believe it or not, the internet will save information, Okay.
Oh yeah,
So
it's
we can see that a month ago, I'll screenshot. I mean, no, because I'm using my phone to do this. But if I was using my camera, I could pull up one that I sent. A, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but a very smaller single family residence in Manhattan Beach, California. Um, Last month was listed for 10,000 a month in rent.
Mhm.
2 days ago, 22.5. Okay. And the realtor listing it, I don't know her. I'm not going to say her name or anything, but
No,
I
yeah,
couldn't find anything about her online, and I'm just like, hey, here's the article, here's the rule. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You got to
yeah,
check
you're gonna get a
yourself.
door knock. Yeah, exactly,
Exactly. So no,
exactly.
it's but on the other side of the coin, I also know a lot of the same group of realtors that have pocket rentals, pocket listings as well, that market 2 months ago may have been 12 and they're getting families in for 6 or 8. Okay.
Okay,
So there's a
we're
lot of
helping.
good, help at least being given to affected families. And sure, there's a little very short vetting process. Just let me see the driver's license. Were you affected? Okay. Boom. Here you go. And we did the same on my family owns a few kind of smaller apartment buildings that had a few vacancies, and we've given 4 families free rent for 2 months, and just anything we can do to you know obviously relieve the burden of those that are not hit, but hit maybe a little bit harder
Yeah,
because of this. We're trying to do everything, and it's good to see that there's still good people, like we spoke about at the beginning of this call, in this world, in LA specifically.
yeah, it does warm your heart. The one question I have, and again, Ken McElroy put out a video the other day talking about the California crash, basically LA, and I put out a video the next day saying I think he's wrong. But I'm curious. So we just talked about rentals. My question is actually about listed properties, like
Oh,
in
that's a different game.
Brentwood. Yeah, it's a different game, right? So if you're looking to sell your home and it's move-in condition, nice neighborhood, all of that in Beverly Hills or Brentwood or any of these, I don't know SoCal very well. I just know those two names because I've driven through them. Are crazy. Um, what's going to happen to that expensive stuff? Because when I look at the affected area, some of those people are not they're price independent, right? They have the means.
100%.
And again, if you do have a low supply of these, I'll call them class A properties, and now you probably have less of them because some were burned down. I'm going to guess some of this demand being unprice sensitive is just going to go snap up, 5, 6, $7 million homes, and I think you're going to get a surprise price increase in the short term.
I mean, I'm gonna agree but disagree with you in that I don't think it's a think. It's a 100% guarantee, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah. Oh,
it's
good.
a uh, you know, don't get me wrong. I don't want to see that, but
Yeah.
it's a market, and like I said, I'm using my phone. I could probably turn it around and have myself kind of looking at the screen, but I'll tell you this right now. Uh, Pretty much everywhere within 20-25 mile radius of Convoy will get alerted for every listing, whether it's for sale or for rent.
Mhm.
And second half, or I'll even go all of 2024, I'd be, on average, get 3 new listings for sale a day.
Okay.
Okay.
A day. Yep.
That's average in 2024. Uh, in the last week, 15 a day, easily,
Wow. So
easily. And
more
this is listings
listings.
for sale, right? So you
Interesting.
got, whether it's people that it could, I don't know what the demographic of the people that are now deciding to list now. Part of the new year, yes. Part of, I might want to get out of LA. I've been thinking about getting out of LA. Now I can
Yeah.
actually sell it and get more than I thought I could get. Or
Yeah.
trying to actually be helpful. It might be a rental that you've had and you're like, you know what? Let me give it to one of the families that are actually trying to stay in LA.
So,
And
so I think there's two things there. So this is fascinating. So I saw the same thing at the Loma Prieta earthquake, which was my biggest natural disaster as an adult. I think I was 18, and shortly, the couple of 3 days after you're cleaning up glass, all of that, blah, blah, blah. But we saw an influx of listings for like 30 or 45 days, right? People were afraid of earthquakes. They thought they were coming back. And we saw a lot of people list because they're like, I'm getting out of Dodge. And interestingly enough, prices also shot up because, again, there was a set of individuals that were impacted directly, right? Lost homes or, damaged, whatever. And they wanted to stay. But more importantly, they wanted their kids to feel normal in a home, not in a hotel or something.
Yeah.
And they just came in and bought everything for 10-15% more than it would have sold for a month ago. So we might see more listings, more sales, and price increases in LA. Is that what I take away?
I mean, it's nothing's 100% in life besides what death and taxes is the phrase, but I'll give this 99.9, at least in the 25-mile radius of Palisades and Altadena and the places that were affected. But days on market down 90%. Of the amount of listings I've seen go up.
Yeah, but
and then down 2 days later.
Yeah,
wild, right?
Crazy.
But that's to be expected, and it's as you know, the market is a beautiful thing, but supply and demand is what controls it, and that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. So again, from an economic perspective, what we've done on the demand side is we have released buyers who are not price sensitive, which really distorts a market, right?
Yeah.
If you happen to be worth $100 million and you're looking to buy a $3 million house, do you really care if it's 3.3? No, right? You're going to get your kids in that house, get them into school. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That's what price insensitivity is all about. So it's going to be pretty wild to watch. Again, from an economic perspective, we're glad everything is heading in the right direction. If somebody wanted to reach out and get a file started, what are we doing?
Go to convoyhomeloans.com and make sure that you click the drop-down menu to say that you came from ORaaT.
Yep. Tell me you came from ORaaT. You get this fine gentleman. His partner in crime, Jonathan, will be back tomorrow, so you may get him as well. You're amazing, buddy. Take care.
Thanks, Mike.